Hello everybody, it's Mimberly and welcome back to the channel. Now, we are back with Cyberspace Malls today. Now, I know some of you are going to be rejoicing because you've been waiting for me to do this. It is hard to sit down and just watch these videos, okay? I'm fidgety. I am always like doing things in my hands and, you know, I'm very shy. It's hard for me to sit still, which is why one of the reasons these have taken a while. Now, I was planning on doing Silas's one first, but with a lot of leaks potentially rumoring of a new Xavier myth, and obviously the trailer realistically will be dropping, I probably would predict early Saturday or Sunday morning, maybe even Monday morning. If it is a new Xavier myth, I want to be able to look at it in a new light, and we really did see the difference with, especially with Raphael's one, when we reacted to Cyberspace Malls last time. So we're going to do that for Xavier today. So an identity fragmented through loss and guilt. Oh god. Also, if you hear background noise, again, I apologise. It's my fan. She being a chonky unit. She is working overtime at the moment.
You're not seeing it as it is now. You're seeing it as it was.
Let me just quickly restart it right to the beginning again so we get the full sentence.
When you look at a star, you're not seeing it as it is now. You're seeing it as it was. That light may have taken thousands, even millions of years to reach us. Looking at a star is like looking back in time.
I'm going to try and do more than just, yeah, and, you know, I'm actually going to try and commentate a bit more now.
What we see of him isn't false, but it isn't present either. He's not just a man, he's the afterimage of a boy who once believed he could save the girl he loved and failed.
Aww.
A life defined by promises, by losses, by timelines that never let him stay whole. Xavier's trauma fractures his identity across time. He shifts roles constantly. Prince, backtracker, policeman, hunter.
Yeah,
from
the anecdotes we know that.
Is the same wound, survivor's guilt, and moral injury that broke something inside him. Through identity theory and trauma psychology, we'll explore how that fragmentation unfolds, and how MC's presence, her relentless choice to see him, name him, and love him, becomes the one thread that ties him back together. To understand Xavier, you need to look at who he was in the future past. There are two core memories we need to look at.
Which ones?
The anecdote when shooting stars fall, and his myth, shooting stars.
We have played both of those on the channel, and we've also read through all the anecdotes up to now, so if you haven't already, after this video, go check out those ones. But yeah, Xavier is one of those characters that I probably know the least about. So this is going to be really interesting, and plus it'll be a nice recap as well.
The earliest version of Xavier we meet is in the anecdote when shooting stars fall.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
My friends,
I got premium! Why are you still giving me ads? YouTube, I swear to God. I literally renewed my premium 10 minutes ago before recording this video. Why am I still getting ads?
houses.
I'm not joking, by the way. Like, I'm going to quickly unhide. Look, your premium benefits.
If you want to make a full-time income
YouTube,
from home working part-time, you need
then give
to
me
know
my
this one
goddamn
concept.
premium benefits.
There is a new
Okay, right, I reloaded the page, so hopefully that should now kick in the premium benefits. I don't know why it did that. But if it does it again, we're gonna get into a fight.
Two core memories we need to look at. The anecdote when shooting stars fall, and his myth, shooting stars.
Hit me. Let's
go.
go.
The earliest version of Xavier we meet is in the anecdote when shooting stars fall. It's the year 217 on Philos. A girl is sitting in a classroom looking at a boy she has a crush on. The girl is MC and she's dying.
Yeah.
She has protocol syndrome and there's no known cure. She's already accepted it and she's not fighting it anymore, just watching the clock, trying to find meaningful things to do before her time runs out. And then there's Xavier, the transfer student who carries a sword on his back and is surrounded by bodyguards and is a total mystery. An MC notices him, not because he talks to her, in fact he doesn't beyond simple thank yous and excuse me's. She notices him because he looks lonely, because there's something behind his eyes that feels familiar to her.
Yeah, I want to talk about the anecdote real quick. Like, I remember that one because the ending made me cry. Now, again, I've mentioned it before, Xavier's always been bottom of the barrel for me, personally, when you compare to the other five. And this is not me trying to insult Xavier or the voice actor or any of the Xavier girlies out there. This is just, again, my own personal opinion. But I think the reason that Xavier did not really, you know, connect to me as much as the other four did. It's because I think each character has got a backstory, and these characters' backstories links to certain conditions. Like, for example, Silas, Silas is very, he wears like a mask, he has to act tough all the time, things like that. And that's the sort of shit that I went through when I was, like, that age. So, like, when I was a kid, again, a little bit of a Mimby lore here for you, I was an absolute loner. I did not really have many friends at all. I was always kind of like, I was the girl that was picked out for bullying. I was being bullied every single day. And my biological dad wasn't on the scene until my stepdad, who we now know as Papa Mim, stepped in when I was like 6. So before I was 6, all I had was my mum and my grandparents, really. Obviously I had a best friend, but we were not as close as we could have been. So I did feel very alone and very isolated. And the problem with that, when you're, especially because I'm an only child as well, like I have no like direct brothers or sisters. I think I have half siblings now from my biological dad's side, but I'm not in contact with them, so I don't know about them. I know I'm the oldest, let's put it that way. But when it comes to Xavier, I just didn't feel that emotional link as I did, for example, with Silas and Zane, for instance. But as I've spent more time playing this game, all of the characters have developed some sort of soft spot in my heart. But I think the one who's had the biggest impact, honestly, like the one that I've changed the most on so far, I have to say, is probably Caleb. And the reason I say it is because when Caleb was first basically going around, just before he was released, a lot of us were thinking, oh, yeah, that was expected. And I was like, okay, this is kind of the, like, childhood best friend trope. We kind of have something similar with Zane. I'm not sure if this is really my thing. But then Caleb's trailer dropped, and my opinion immediately changed. Not just because Caleb got a good back to claw at, if you know what I mean, but also the fact that I think Infold have done a very good job of building onto that personality for Caleb, being he's too afraid to let MC go, he doesn't know how to let go, things like that. And Xavier is kind of one of those characters where out of all of them, him and Raphael, I think, are probably the two who are, and Silas, are the ones who are the most out of place. So when I see you, Xavier girlies out there, you're loyal as hell, and I commend you for that. Because you girlies get to you see something in him that I don't. And I'm hoping this video from Cyberspace Malls will bring some attention to that. So...
And that's what makes this moment important.
Yeah.
MC isn't just looking at Xavier. She's seeing him. Really seeing him. Even before she understands why. MC decides that she wants to ask Xavier to see a once-in-a-century meteor shower with her, knowing it will be her only chance to see it before she dies.
Yeah,
and here's where things shift. One day, outside the academy gates, she sees him getting pulled back into that guarded, heavily controlled life. He's about to disappear into it. So she does something impulsive. She calls out Xavier and makes up an excuse for him to leave that life momentarily, and grabs his hand and starts running away with him. It's the first time she's ever said his name aloud, and that detail matters, not just emotionally but thematically, because Xavier is a character whose entire arc is defined by identity, how it forms, how it fractures, how it gets taken away from you and reshaped by others. And at this moment,
Xavier
his name
is
not
probably
attached
one of
to
the
a
most freaky
title,
out
a
of all of
duty,
it.
or a role. It's called out by someone who sees him not as a function, but as a person. For maybe the first time in his life, he chooses something for himself. He's not a prince, he's not a protector, he's just a boy following someone who saw him when no one else did. This is the foundation for everything that comes after. The start of who
let me
Xavier
know what your
really is
thoughts are
beneath
on all this,
the
by the
roles
way, in the
he'll
comments as you
eventually
watch the
take
video
on.
with me.
MC gives him that. Not just a crush or a moment of kindness, but a sense of self. She names him. She gives him space to be human. And this is repeated throughout many of Xavier's memories. This is why Xavier falls in love
I
with
still
her.
need to play Floral Blasting, huh?
Later in the anecdote, we
I've got
see
so
them
many
grow
Xavier
closer,
memories I've
and
got
he
to catch up
eventually
on as
finds
well.
out that she's dying. He decides at that moment to see the meteor shower with her. They meet at Sky Mirror Salt Flat, and together they watch the stars as they fall in the sky. She gives him a little handmade tassel shaped like a star, and from that day forward, he never takes it off his sword. Not in that life, not in any life after. She's taken aback when he asks to hug her, and it's a beautiful moment, making MC wonder what price she will pay for being so selfish. But she realizes this was Xavier possibly saying goodbye, because after that night, she didn't see him again for an entire month. During that time, MC ends up in the hospital, her condition getting worse. Her thoughts are consumed with Xavier, hoping he'll return, but each day that goes by, her hope fades. Until one night, when she's close to the end of her life, she sneaks out of the hospital and back to the place they made that promise. And there she sees him, running towards her. He's holding a protocol that will save her life, but he's arrived too late. MC sees that he also has a collar around his neck and is visibly upset by this, asking if he traded his freedom for her. We now know what Xavier sacrificed in order to save her. It's an evil suppressor, meaning Xavier cannot use his evil to his full potential. And finally, Xavier holds her and watches her as she dies in his arms. He makes her a promise, he'll find her again. But that promise isn't just about love, it's about atonement.
He regrets
Because
that
the
he
moment
was so
MC
late.
dies in his arms, something inside Xavier is permanently altered. Not only does he arrive too late with the protocore in hand, but the collar around his neck tells us what it cost him to even try. An evil suppressor, a shackle, a sacrifice of his freedom in exchange for a miracle he couldn't deliver in time. And that is the root of it. He gave up everything, and he still failed.
I want to talk as well, because like from the beginning of the game, we know that Xavier is a bit on the mysterious side, because, you know, he grabs a protocore immediately and he crushes it. And MC is like, oh my god, that protocore could have given us useful information. Why did you destroy it? It's because it's not the protocore to save her in this lifetime. So he is constantly seeking protocores to try and save MC. And every single time he fails, he's getting more and more increasingly frustrated. And the guilt is eating him alive. And I think that's one of the beauties when it comes to this game, is the fact there are so many hidden details that people like me who cannot retain too much information all at once will completely miss those sort of things. But for people like Cyberspace Moors and some of you very talented people in the community, you pick out these things, you make your own interpretations on it or confirm certain things, and it causes all these theories to go around. And honestly, I love that as a community we do this. And the reason I love it is because of the sole reason I think a beauty of a game is when people theorize and come together to try and figure out the truth. And, you know, like for example, when before the dragon myth for Silas dropped, there was multiple references to Hades, being there is a pomegranate text bubble. There's been mentions of pomegranates in a few of the memories. His code was HDS in his trader drop, which can be a hyphenation for Hades. And obviously there are so many different references. And in the bond with Silas, which Infold, please drop another one because we need another one really badly. She drew Silas with horns and a tail. That was hinting to him, to his second myth being his dragon myth. And honestly, I think one of the things that has kept me so interested in Love and Deepspace, unlike games like Honkai Star Rail, where they're constantly bringing out more characters, they're building, Infold, at least with Love and Deepspace, are building more on characters that we already love to build a more emotional connection to these characters. Granted, some people in this community do go too far, or get too defensive when their opinion is not agreed with. But in my personal opinion, I think every single love interest has been written out really, really well. And it's obvious that Infold have put a lot of time and effort into these characters. And the fact that, you know, they are this in depth to the point where, you know, people who've studied psychological side of things are making videos like Cyberspace Moles is. It's honestly extremely impressive and commendable, and this is one of the reasons I love reacting to videos like this, because I love looking at other people's perspective, because they might have seen something that I didn't, or they might look at something in a different way, because we are all different. And that's one of the beauties of humanity, in my personal opinion. Like, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to build like a safe community for YouTube, because I believe, I don't look at my subscriber numbers and see that as a number. I see that number and think of all of these different individuals from all over the world who have chosen to join this channel and be a part of the community. Whether you just watch the videos and like them, or you comment on them, you're all your individual selves. Even if you're not subscribed, you're your own individual self who has your own opinion. You might watch my videos and think I'm absolute shit and I talk out my ass. You might also watch my video and go, you know what? She got good vibes, but I wish she covered this sort of stuff more. And that's the sort of comments that I look for. Feedback, constructive criticism, and honestly, just hearing what you guys are enjoying as well. Like, there are some comments I've had where we have had a bit of a girly giggle. There have been some comments where people were going, oh, Mim, yeah. Because on the last Cyberspace Moles video, I didn't really know how to further add on to what Cyberspace Moles was saying, and I didn't want to just come across like I wasn't acknowledging what was being said, so I kept saying yeah. And I really sat back and thought, okay, how can I be better for the next one? Being, you know, can I do more research? Is there something else in the game that I'm maybe not doing? Like, for example, the World Underneath stories, which we're going to cover soon. It's things like that that really helped me make this channel grow. And this is one of the reasons I do enjoy my reactions. I don't do anywhere near as many as I used to back when I was a reactor doing like Undertale stuff, but I do still enjoy watching other people's point of view. So if you guys ever have any other videos that you want me to cover, please let me know, because I will happily do it as long as the creator is okay with it, of course.
This is the emotional core of Xavier's survivor's guilt. The belief that he should have done more, that he could have, that he didn't deserve to survive if she didn't. Survivor's guilt isn't just about living when someone else doesn't. It's about believing that your continued existence came at their expense. But there's something deeper here, something even more destructive.
And this is something that people can go through as well.
Moral injury is a psychological wound that occurs when someone is forced to act in a way that goes against their deeply held values, or when they witness betrayal by systems or people they once trusted.
Yeah, and that is something that happens a lot in today's day and age. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of stories that I've like seen. We see it on the news all the time where, say, for example, somebody gets murdered and then the person is you know, locked away, but the timing doesn't quite make sense, because like we have an overcrowding problem in this country, at least in the UK, and certain prisoners are being let out early, and that will be a very big like injustice to victims who suffered because of it. And this is one of the reasons why, again, this whole series is so fascinating to me, because they're bringing in things that humans can you know, experience in everyday life, and they're bringing it into a character perspective, so they're making the character seem more human to us. And honestly, kudos to Cyberspace Moles and Infold,
which is rooted in fear and threat. Moral injury is rooted in guilt, shame, and the feeling of having compromised your own ethics. Because Xavier didn't just lose MC, he had to bargain with a system he already knew was broken. The collar has Evergroup's logo on it, suggesting Xavier made a deal with them in order to get the protocol that would save MC's life. Xavier had to offer up his own autonomy in exchange for the hope of saving her. This is where Xavier's fracture becomes permanent, not just because he lost her, but because he compromised his own ethics to try and save her. He crossed a line he never wanted to cross, and it didn't work. That is moral injury in its purest form, the unbearable weight of having betrayed your own values even for the right reasons. From that moment on, Xavier is not simply grieving MC, he's grieving himself. The self he was when she called out his name. The self who believed he could make a different choice. The boy who dared to want something. He keeps the tassel and carries it as a memory, and he repeats the same promise across time. Not because he believes he can fix what happened, but because that promise is the only part of himself he still recognizes. This is where identity theory comes in. Now, according to Erik Erikson and James Marcia, a stable identity forms through exploration and commitment, but trauma disrupts that process. Xavier never gets a chance to consolidate a self. He begins to fragment. He becomes defined not by who he is, but by the roles he's forced to inhabit. Function replaces identity, and memory replaces presence. Now, a perfect mirror to this first life comes much later on in his story, in the memory Floral Blessing. MC and Xavier are now dating in the present timeline, and they unknowingly recreate many of these original moments. The present is echoing the past. Take a look.
Okay, right, just a quick disclaimer. I have not actually played through Floral Blessing yet, so this bit is completely, unknown to me. But we will be covering Floral Blessing in August, so keep an eye on the channel because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, planned for August, so just keep an eye out. I'm assuming this is the Kindled.
Throughout history, humanity has always made the same wishes. Perhaps it's because those feelings we have are timeless. What will you wish for?
This is cute though. I like the cherry blossom.
What is it? Or does making a wish require you to stare at me?
That's cute.
MC grabs Xavier's hand and runs with him, just like she did outside the academy gates on Philos. There's a moment where he holds the umbrella to shield her from prying eyes, just like in the anecdote. And one of the most striking moments, especially for me as I was rewatching this, I realized that they both clasp their hands together and make a wish, just like they did in the anecdote. Here is that excerpt.
See, I wouldn't have clocked that if I played that on my own.
The dark, inky sky is illuminated by various colours. Clusters of stars light up the sky one after the other, appearing and disappearing. It's as if only Xavier and I exist in this world, and only the two of us see this meteor shower. I clasp my hands and make a wish. When I open my eyes, I see Xavier is also doing the same thing. I ask what he wished for, but he shakes his head and says he can't tell me. Floral Blessing feels like a second chance at their first story. The same atmosphere, the same symbols, but this time it doesn't end in tragedy. This time, MC stays. It ends the way it always should have, with a kiss, and even more importantly, with her seeing him the way he's always longed to be seen, as just Xavier, the man she chooses. But that's the present timeline. For now, we remain in the past, or rather the future past, and that leads us to the myth, Shooting Stars. When Xavier meets MC again in Shooting Stars, she doesn't remember him. Not the salt flat, not the meteor shower, not the promise they made. She's now a moon chaser knight training alongside him, and Xavier still carries the tassel she gave him, an object heavy with memory that she no longer shares. And she asks about it casually throughout the myth, unaware it's a relic of a life she once changed. To the Academy, Xavier is the star hunter who never misses. To Philos, he is their future king.
Yeah.
To MC, he's a question, someone she instinctively trusts but doesn't fully understand why. But to himself, Xavier is beginning to disappear.
He's his own worst enemy.
What we witness in Shooting Stars is a deepening of the identity fracture that began at the salt flat.
The guilt of the loss.
In this life, the breaking point is the gladius ceremony. What should have been a rite of passage becomes a moral crucible. Xavier disappears into the forest for 7 days, promising MC he'll return. When he finally comes back, he says nothing. He just holds her. He doesn't tell her what he saw, but we learn that it shattered him. Philos, the supposed beacon of eternity, is powered by death. Human lives feed into its core. Sacrifice for the illusion of peace. And worse, his family knew. The royal bloodline, the legacy he was raised to protect, has always depended on systemic harm.
Yeah.
And now they expect him to carry on that cycle.
Which he's physically
Xavier
unable to do.
refuses. And this is where his moral injury deepens. Xavier isn't just disillusioned by what he learns in the Gladius ceremony, he's ethically undone. The legacy he was born into demands complicity in its systemic harm. But now, in this life, it's her again, branded as Philos' solution. She's an immortal body who can be offered endlessly. The one person who should have lived freely is being turned into the cost of everyone else's survival. And Xavier breaks, and he vanishes again. But this time, it's not out of fear, it's out of resistance. His grief becomes defiance. His guilt sharpens into purpose. And just like on Philos, when he disappeared for a month to find a cure, leaving MC to hope and wait and fade, he leaves again, still trying to atone for the moment in their last life where he couldn't save her. Maybe this time he can. When he returns, he's no longer a prince, no longer a light seeker. He's something new, the leader of the Backtrackers, a rogue unit made of fractured knights, fractured truth, fractured timelines. And their mission is to undo the future that everyone else is too afraid to face. In this myth, we don't just see Xavier unravel, we see him rebuild, but not as himself, as something functional. He's strategic and detached. He isn't backtracking to save the world. He's doing it to save her from it. And once again, Xavier finds himself suspended between who he was, who he is, and who he's allowed to be.
He's very held back by the
time we see Xavier in the present timeline, he is no longer the boy who watched the stars fall beside a dying girl. He's not the prince who refused to carry on a legacy built on sacrifice. He's not even the backtracker who tried to rewrite a future that kept breaking him. In the anecdote passing by, we're in the early 2030s on Earth. Xavier works as a police officer, a role grounded in justice, but also heavy with penance. It's hard not to read it as atonement. He saves strangers now, maybe hoping it will make up for the ones he couldn't, mainly MC. For once there's no throne, no time travel, no world to save, just small choices. Just quiet.
I will admit, I did find it a little bit weird when I was reading the anecdote and found out he was a police officer.
Xavier is defined not just by his silence, but by dislocation. He doesn't fully belong in this world, not to this time, not even to this version of himself. He walks through life almost like a ghost. He's not unseen, but he's unrooted. This is what identity fragmentation looks like after the collapse. It's not chaos, it's detachment. A man who keeps erasing himself to protect the people around him. By now, his moral injury isn't just a wound, it's a rhythm. He keeps helping, keeps protecting, keeps giving others the second chances he believes he's forfeited for himself. He doesn't believe he deserves forgiveness, so he never asks for it. He simply acts, and suffers quietly. When we meet him again in the main storyline, he's taken on yet another mask. A hunter in the Hunters Association. But this time, there's a shadow trailing close behind. Lumiere. The name of the man who saved MC during the Chrono Rift catastrophe in 2034. We see the tension between Xavier's public image and his private self almost immediately. In the Bond story Night of Warmth, MC shares an impression.
I need to do that too.
Quietly in her mind. Let's take a look at that.
Xavier, you're different from what I had imagined.
Different how?
Well, I can't think of anything in particular.
What did you think I was like at first, then?
A monster with a strong evil who kills every wanderer he sees, and you can never find him unless something bad happens.
Yeah, sounds like Xavier, to be honest.
None of that sounds very good.
Really? I was just saying you're talented and trustworthy. And distant at times. You're like a star in the night sky. So close, yet so far. A star that's out of reach.
A distant star. Stars are much farther away from the Earth compared to the moon. Humans rarely visit them. That must mean they're very lonely.
What if one day we bring home a star together?
Aww.
How would we do that? It would be easier for a star to land on Earth and stay by your side.
MC is beginning to realize something. That Xavier is not just a man with a sword and an evil.
Okay, right. I just want to say, again, I've not played A Night of Warmth yet, so that part was completely new to me. But immediately, I saw the reference. When Xavier goes, oh, what if it'd be easier for a star to come to Earth and stay by your side? He's referring to himself. And that is honestly so adorable. That's actually making me want to go and play the Bond as soon as I finished recording this video. Speaking of this video, I need to quickly go to the bathroom, so I will be right back. Okay, right, I've been to the bathroom. Let's carry on.
There's something more. And Xavier doesn't argue because he's used to being misunderstood. He knows what it means to be reduced to what you can do, rather than who you are. This tension between what people believe he is and who he actually is becomes the emotional spine of the myth Twilight Dawn. There, Xavier plays Lumiere in a film about his past, standing in front of a camera dressed as himself but not himself. And even though he's technically playing himself, it's still a performance. It always has been. The world loves Lumiere, the name, the power, the
That's
light.
why he gets jealous.
But Xavier himself, he isn't sure that version of himself is even real anymore. So, when he asks MC this...
Who do you like more? Me or Lumiere?
It's not a joke, and it's not something to take at face value. It's not about rivalry or jealousy. It's fear. The fear that the story will always be more lovable than the truth. At this point, Xavier has been so many things. A prince, a police officer, a light seeker, a backtracker, a hunter. Each one a version of himself that served someone else's purpose. And none of them feel whole. This is where identity theory and self-discrepancy theory start to overlap. D.W. Winnicott's concept of the false self explains what happens when someone performs the version of themselves that others want, long enough to forget who they really are. And in psychological terms, this kind of split creates lasting emotional tension. Xavier lives with that every day. Lumiere is the false self, elegant, unshakable, and adored. But the real Xavier, he's unsure if he's enough without that light. That's why her teasing, her affection, and especially her honesty matter so much. In the same memory, after teasing him for sulking over Lumiere, MC doesn't just reassure him, she picks him. But dummies who get jealous and sulk, those are my favourite. Just look at his reaction to MC saying this. It's genuine startled joy, because in that moment she saw past a role he assigned himself. She saw past the guilt that drove him to become Lumiere. She saw the flawed, traumatized man for who he really was. And she chose him anyway. And this means more to Xavier than anything, because Xavier isn't trying to be admired. He's trying to be known by the one woman he loves more than anything. Now let's take a quick look at the memory No Restraint.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, we know this one. You still haven't told me why you were explaining yourself earlier. He stops in his tracks only to start walking again. His tone is gentle,
I just wanted to
seemingly
say,
gone.
I'm not the kind of partner who would leave you behind. I'm also not one of those young people who takes things for granted either.
Taken aback, I finally remember what James said at the banquet. Those were words I placed.
Yeah.
It's going
You
too
were
fast.
very loud.
Of course I know you wouldn't do those
I know
things.
you know. But I still wanted to say it.
Although it looks like Xavier is affirming loyalty here, this is a moment of vulnerability. He's not trying to convince MC of this. He already believes she knows, but he needs to say it out loud anyway. This is key. It tells us that he's deeply aware of how others might perceive him as distant, inscrutable, unreliable, and even cold. He's trying to affirm an emotional truth
I do feel
about
really
himself
bad for
aloud,
Xavier, though.
not to persuade MC, but almost to reassure himself that he's not that kind of man. Once again linked to his trauma of not saving MC in time. Psychologically, this moment echoes what attachment theory might call an anxious avoidant communicator. Someone who rarely expresses emotion directly, but when they do, it comes with disclaimers and gentle hesitance. It also connects to identity theory in how he's actively choosing to define himself here. Not by the roles others assign him, but by the kind of partner he wants to be. He's carving out a small space for real identity. Saying it out loud, even if it seems unnecessary, is his way of anchoring himself in something real. Something that isn't wrapped in myth, sacrifice, or obligation. Now, fast forward to the moment when this happens.
If I still haven't felt it, does this mean I'm a lost cause?
Oh yeah, I remember playing this card. What should we do? Xavier. Oh no, looks like something broke.
Since that's the case, tonight will be the last time.
It's not just about her voice whispering Xavier, it's the context of that moment. This is when his composure breaks. This moment demonstrates the buildup of emotional repression meeting sudden emotional intimacy. People who have held everything in, who are used to being in control at all times, often experience vulnerability like a dam breaking. Xavier has been waiting an unbelievably long time to be alone with MC like this. And for her to affirm that she sees him just by whispering his name, that moment is the dam cracking. The whispered Xavier moment is the flood. Her saying his name like that tells him she sees me. And in that split second, the composed hunter, the man of restraint, the self-denying prince, all fall away. For years he's had to be the strategist, the backtracker, the careful one. He's had to bury anger, hunger, longing, anything that could make him reckless. But MC changes that. She brings out the man he tries to keep buried. Just him.
Yeah.
And that unraveling continues, not just in moments of their physical closeness, but in emotional aftermaths that follow.
Basically,
like
the
in
guilt
Misty
is just
Silhouette.
completely eating him alive.
This is a moment where they're laying together after sleeping together.
Oh,
And she asks him the one question he's never been able to answer truthfully. Take a look.
Xavier, why do you think I'll leave you?
You won't?
Of course not. Also, I'm appreciating chest view. He takes my finger and gives it a soft kiss.
Do you think I'm a little childish?
Yes.
But I can't help it.
I know. I move closer to Xavier and look into his eyes. Only one neighbor can open the lock to my apartment. His name is Xavier. In terms of people, only one of them I hold as my favorite. And there's only one person who I'll never leave. When I'm like this, does that make me as childish as you? My words are drowned in a warm, tight hug. Xavier presses his forehead against mine and whispers against my ear.
That's enough. Childish, brave, and loved. I want to be just like you.
What follows is not just reassurance, it's identity building. MC doesn't just tell him she loves him. She names him. She anchors him to this world. In identity theory, recognition from a loved one helps affirm and stabilize the self. MC isn't just comforting him, she's naming him into existence, just like she did in their first meeting on Philos in 217. Just like she did in No Restraint. Naming someone repeatedly in moments of intimacy as MC does acts like a mirror, reflecting identity back to the self. Social psychologists like George Herbert Mead suggest that identity is built dialogically. We learn who we are by how others see and name us. MC's repetition
agree with
isn't
that.
just romantic, it's rehabilitative.
I've definitely learned more about
And
myself
for
since
someone
doing
who's
YouTube
lived
at least.
fragmented across timelines, constantly shape-shifting for survival, that affirmation is a form of healing. It grounds him. And when he responds with this,
As long as I'm like you, that's enough. Childish, brave, and loved. I want to be just like you.
it's one of the few times Xavier expresses desire, not just for love, but for a sense of self. He doesn't want to be a myth or a hero. He wants to be someone like her, someone who feels deeply, who loves openly, who knows who they are. That moment is so revealing, because it tells us exactly what Xavier has always longed for. To be loved not as an idea, not as a symbol, but just as a person. And MC, in naming him 3 times, gives him that gift. So why does Xavier get so jealous when MC speaks to anyone else? Sometimes it's an associate, other times it's a neighbour, and one time it was even a little boy. It's simple. Xavier's fear goes into overdrive. That fear is that he might be easy to forget, that he might be being erased from this timeline because MC's eyes are not on him. It's not just about romantic rivalry. Xavier is a man scattered across centuries, timelines, roles, and missions that erase more of him than they preserve. For someone like him, love is terrifying, not because it's fragile, but because he is. Because when someone finally sees him, truly sees him, it means there's something to lose, something that really matters. And with MC, that fear runs deeper than with anyone else. Check out the phone call Broken Street Lamp.
I don't. You
alright.
called just for that?
Yeah, I was talking with my colleague and then the streetlights near me suddenly turned off. Can you maybe do something about it with your Evo? Like create a small bar of
Sorry,
light?
I can't. But if you really want to talk to him, you can still talk in the dark.
He already left. We were saying our
I
goodbyes.
didn't know you needed 20 minutes to say the word goodbye.
It's weird for you to say that.
There's nothing strange about what I said. I'm tired. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up.
Wait, there is something else. I'm currently standing in the dark alone. I can't even see my fingers. I'm scared.
Look up.
I see it. There's a ball of light floating down. This is Sparkle Speck.
Don't give it weird names. Go home. I'll keep an eye on you from the balcony.
Xavier's jealousy in this moment isn't dramatic or explosive. It's passive-aggressive and masked under tiredness and sarcasm. When he says, "I didn't know you needed 20 minutes to say the word goodbye," what he's really expressing is discomfort. Insecure attachment styles, particularly avoidant preoccupied types, often show jealousy not by confronting it, but by withdrawing or making indirect jabs. Exactly what Xavier does here. He doesn't demand MC's attention outright. He doesn't forbid her from talking to someone else. But he does make it clear that it bothers him, even while pretending it doesn't.
Yeah.
That internal
Definitely.
conflict, which is wanting her all to himself, but feeling like he can't ask for that, is so central to his character. That's why her clarification matters so much. The moment she explains herself, he softens, his tone shifts, and he stays on the call. It's not control he's after, it's reassurance. We see this conflict play out in Shooting Stars 2, when Jeremiah casually puts his arm around MC. It's a brief friendly gesture, but when Xavier returns to the scene almost immediately, as if he was quietly watching MC, there's a sudden tension in the air. MC
Yeah.
even comments on how quickly he came back. He doesn't say a word about what he saw, but he removes Jeremiah's arm and drags MC away. In that moment, Xavier isn't just reacting to touch. He's reacting to a threat, not to her safety, but to his place in her life.
He just doesn't want to be
Jeremiah
replaced,
is someone
basically, and I
warm,
get
open,
that.
and emotionally accessible. He's someone Xavier could easily believe MC might choose, and perhaps even should choose, because he isn't haunted by loss, fractured by timelines, or drowning in guilt. And Xavier's immediate response is pulling her away, because to him that closeness, even if it's innocent, reopens the wound of having lost her once already. It signals the possibility of being replaced, of being forgotten, of becoming invisible again in a life he's already had to watch slip away. He's already lost her once. Survivor's guilt doesn't just haunt people with regret, it distorts their sense of worthiness. For Xavier, saving her once wasn't enough.
He needs to save her
Failing to
again.
save her became part of his internal identity. A man who didn't make it in time. So now every moment he thinks she's slipping away, even if it's just a 20-minute walk home, reopens that wound. So when he sees her, this her, growing close to someone else even in the most innocent ways, it hits that old wound. He doesn't believe he's entitled to her attention, but he wants it more than anything. It all comes back to his struggle with believing that a man who let her die before deserves her now.
That anecdote is just so important to his character.
Now, in saying all of this, as I've mentioned earlier, there are moments of healing for Xavier, and we actually see this in his branch in the main story. Up until this point, Xavier has borne everything in silence. His grief, his guilt, his fear of failing again. He's always been the protector, the one who disappears when things get too close, the one who holds the weight so no one else has to. But in this part of the story, we're starting to see something change in him. We're back in Starfall Forest, and even though it's a simulation, Xavier is re-traumatized.
Yeah.
The place where his sense of self
Definitely.
once shattered becomes the setting for emotional exposure. It pulls at old wounds, and it brings them to the surface. But this time he isn't alone. MC is there. And more importantly, she doesn't just witness his pain, she meets it. Not with pity, not with fear, but with her own strength. With a love that doesn't flinch. And that's a massive turning point for Xavier. Because for him, trauma has always meant isolation. He failed her once, he couldn't protect her. And so he learned only to rely on himself, to carry the guilt, the burden, the memory without ever asking for help. Letting someone in felt too dangerous, too close to repeating the same loss. But now, MC reaches into the center of that fear and stays with him. From a psychological standpoint, this is where we start to see a reversal in his internal narrative, where he once believed that being close to her meant putting her at risk. Now he begins to see the inverse, that being close to her might be the thing that saves him. The presence he once tried to protect from danger becomes the presence that protects him from himself. This shift doesn't erase the past, it doesn't undo the guilt or the trauma,
But it
but
starts
it
working
does
to...
open the door
Yeah.
to healing. He begins to
Definitely.
talk more, trust more, and
Because he does
let her
open up a
really
lot
see
more
him.
in the recent memories
Not as
versus
this
the old
flawless
ones.
protector, but as a man who has been lost for a very long time. And in doing so, Xavier does something he's never truly allowed himself to do before. He starts to hope. He hopes that he can be forgiven. He hopes that he can still be loved. And in that hope, something begins to heal. Not all at once, but enough to matter. Because for the first time, Xavier isn't just surviving out of guilt or duty. He's beginning to imagine a future shaped not by the role he was given, but by the person he's finally allowed to become. One where identity is no longer a mask, but a choice. The guilt will never vanish completely, but in her presence, it no longer has to be the loudest voice in the room.
Jesus, that was a very big deep dive, Moors. Okay. Right, let me just collect all my thoughts from that, and I'll just swap to my just chatting screen, and we'll talk about my afterthoughts and anything I want to kind of add. Bear me. Give me about 5 minutes. Okay, right, so I've taken some time to collect my thoughts from that one. First off, I want to just reiterate, this was a really good video from Cyberspace Moors. I really enjoy their content quite a lot, actually, because I find it opens our minds to a part of storytelling that we might not necessarily really think about, and that, like, depending on individual experiences. But I think this is definitely let me see Xavier in another, no pun intended, light. Because Xavier is one of those characters where, for me, he personally did not scream out to me the instant I met him. But over time, he is one of those characters that I've grown a soft spot for, but not quite as much as the other characters have. But I think now, going forward, when I do start playing the other memories for him, I'm definitely going to be looking out for these little references, and I will call them out as and when I see them if I recognize them. And I encourage you guys to do the same in the comments as well, because I love seeing what you guys see. But I think one of the things that I like about this series, outside of the fact that obviously, you know, she makes them for each love interest, but also the fact that she does her research. She knows what she's talking about, and it's obvious that she's taken the time to understand the lore for the other characters as well, because she doesn't just link the anecdote, she also links like memories and other, like, I think that was one video she mentioned one of the World Underneath stories, which I still need to read. And I just genuinely really enjoy listening to what she says, and that's one of the reasons I find these videos sometimes hard to react to when it comes to a content creator perspective, because she already kind of says what I want to say before I say it. So my brain just kind of just goes, oh, yeah, I agree with that. But then obviously from the content creator side of me is screaming, Mim, you need to make more, you need to say more. And it's like, okay. So I have tried to make an active effort to kind of speak more about my thoughts during the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed reacting to it. But on that note, let's get on to the wedding event. I think Zane's next, actually. I've already recorded Xavier's. Let's get on to Zane's. See you later today.